Next speaker is Mr. Bobby Bedi. With training in economics and finance and experience in the Indian corporate sector, Bobby is a filmmaker of international fame. Bandit Queen and Fire are among some of his films which are among the best of Indian films. Bobby Bedi has received the President of India's National Award twice for his films. So Bobby, please.
Thank you, Ishwar. Good afternoon, everyone. I thought we are at that time of the day that we need some entertainment, so I'm sort of scheduled there. It's not about entrepreneurship today or about film, it's about innovation. And so I'll put this as a little story that I had told and talk about what I'm doing. You'll be surprised because there's nothing to do with what I've done before. In February 2002, while talking to a group of students at the Graduate School of Business at Harvard, they'd asked me what teaching aids would I like, and I asked for blackboard and chalk. I didn't get that. I got a whiteboard and a marker, but that is close. And I put down 4 words on the blackboard. That is, where is my, yeah. Engage, entertain, inform, and educate. So today I'm talking about innovation in communication. I believed then, and that's 15 years ago now, that this was the only way that the world was going to communicate. You can't enter this sideways. The way the world has changed, and you have to follow this pattern if you want to be able to communicate with whatever the contemporary youth of that period is. Since then, I've added one more word at the end. That's enlighten. Now, basically, since quite a long time, there has been a challenge to the written word. We don't recognize it that easily because, especially a gathering like this, everyone's well-read, well-educated, etc. But the truth is that the written word has been under challenge ever since, well, paintings were always there. There were paintings and art and photography were supporting the written word. But ever since audiovisual came in popularly, television especially, comics became animated films, novels became films, I began to believe that the written word is now under pressure of different kinds. So at first only engaging and entertaining content were affected, but today it's difficult to run even an educational program without actually being supported by animated graphics, video clips, recorded talks, and other audiovisual support. With TV, cinema, YouTube, virtual reality, and the larger internet, reading is now relegated to second place. So if you can experience it in some form of audiovisual technology, why read an instruction manual or book? Now, again, some of us over here might disagree with that, but when I look at my children, they don't read their news on a paper. They don't, everyone's on the internet, everyone's on some app or the other, and everyone is far, far better informed than we were at that age because of this sort of speed and the way they're being communicated to. And the last on our priority list, and which is probably why I'm here today, is spiritual or religious texts. So there is absolutely, I would say, no way that today the young man, the young woman is going to be able to consume spirituality or their faith or religion or information in that textual format. So all this came for me, and you see a picture up there, when I was working on the Virasat-e-Khalsa at Anandpur Sahib. For those who don't know it, it's a museum. It's a museum designed by Moshe Safdie, who is one of America's leading architects. Skirball Center, United States Courthouse, the Holocaust Museum in Jerusalem. I mean, there's 100 credits that Moshe has. And he was engaged to build this because the then Chief Minister of Punjab, Prakash Singh Badal, was in Israel studying drip irrigation and found the Holocaust Museum and said, who built this? And literally that was how he was invited. It's over 125 acres of land. And this is the one that actually changed my thinking, because I was hired and paid a lot of money for designing the audio-visual content for this. Now, I'm, through my childhood, been reasonably agnostic. We know the Mool Mantar, we know little bits of what our grandmother would recite in the house and all. But nobody ever gave any focus to the religion as such. My father was a central government servant. So I had to actually do a complete and thorough job of researching the history of our gurus and of Gurbani for this museum. And two things happened. I mean, two major sort of influences happened at that point of time because of this exercise. One, the realization that the Bani of the Granth Sahib was completely and totally relevant even today. As a compilation, it is more recent than the complete works of Shakespeare, something that we easily look at, something that's very modern, we studied in our schools and all of that. And this book happens to be sort of more recent than that as a compilation. The other thing was that many of the values captured in the Bani were being taught at school today to young students. They were being communicated and taught even today. But from the Bani's perspective, none of this was being communicated to us. I mean, to me as a child, to anybody else, that these are all values, these contemporary values that you have are all, in the Bani. So we started looking at these values and we said, okay, let's see how we can start interpreting this differently. The other thing was that the ritualistic part of the faith was being drummed into us. So our own children started reacting to that and saying that, why do we have to do this? And when you try to explain, as people have done today, that, it's not the identity, it's the value system behind the identity. And that's somewhere I got convinced that once you understand the value systems behind the identity becomes a natural corollary to wear with pride, and understand. So the other thing was that there were 6,000 people a day going into that building, into the previous slide that you saw. 6,000 a day, 7,000 a day was what this building was drawing. And on the weekends, we had to actually stop entry. Now, to put this in perspective, the National Museum in India Gate gets 80 to 100 people a day. Where, one of the artifacts is probably worth more than the entire investment on this museum, you'll find. And we tried to figure out why. And some of the people actually told us that, this is because the Gurdwara is next door. And then we researched that a bit and we found that the Gurdwara's own golak or receipts had doubled after this museum had opened, in a period of time. So it was not the Gurdwara. It was a combination of the location, the Gurdwara, and what we were saying. What had actually happened was that we had connected all the art and artifacts using audio, visual, music, storytelling, in a way that a person who entered the museum came out with the whole story of the gurus. And now the second phase has happened where it's taken you from beyond the gurus up till contemporary India. So that is when the thought of adding enlightenment sort of came into my mind, that if we need to enlighten people, we have to follow the engaging storytelling format. So Siddharth Lotan Singh is sitting here. He's been a mentor for a while. He one day called me and he said, there is a plan to do a center for Sikh studies and a library, and I'm against the idea of a library, so why don't you come up with some idea and tell us what we can do here? in a few days, we made a presentation, and we said that let's present the Bani of our Gurus, the history of our Gurus, in a story format, in an engaging audiovisual format, but using technology that would interest and challenge even the youngest kid today. And we made a presentation where we said we'll make a dome auditorium, we'll have holography in the center, we'll have motion chairs with perfume and breeze and all of that, and make a completely sort of captivating, immersive experience. The content would be the core values that were there, in the hope that this communication would actually work out. So this is a concept of the building. It's right next to Parliament at Gurdwara Rakabganj at the Circle, which again became the major opportunity. This is what the auditorium inside looks like, so to get a sense of how contemporary we want to make it. And this is actually a photograph from the site today. So it is today is about 60–70% complete, and I think by the end of the year we have this project rolling. So the whole idea is that when you recite from the Aarti, Dhoop, Malyan Lo Pavan Chavro Kare, you will actually smell sandalwood, you'll feel the breeze, you'll see the light, you'll get that whole experience, and you'll get it in contemporary sounds and contemporary music, the way we sort of engage with our children in sort of all our communication. And we also wanted to just reach out not just to the Sikh youth, but one of, again, Sardar Roshan's challenges was that nobody understands who Sikhs are. So when you walk in as an ambassador to India, it says make something that if you take somebody there for half an hour, they will completely understand us. So we thought we will do it in all our languages, Hindi, English, Punjabi, but we'll also dub it or translate it or subtitle it in some form in some of the languages of the United Nations. Now I come to the last part of this thing, that we also, just before that, the team that put this together. We had Mr. Navtej Sarna, who was then High Commissioner to the UK, is now our ambassador to the US. He's also a very respected writer, do the script for this. We had Dr. Jaspal Singh vet the script. And then we used the voice of Kabir Bedi to, resonate, impress, whatever, and well-known singers with Gurbani background but popularly accepted to make the whole thing sort of come alive. The whole project was funded between the Delhi Gurdwara Committee, the government of Punjab, a lot of seva from Baba Harban Singh's Dera over there, and the content is being funded very largely privately. Our own resources. I set up a foundation for that. San Singh Chatwal of New York contributed a large amount of money for this. And today we've put up this show and we deal with 5 things: secularism, gender equality, sharing and caring, respecting nature and environment, and defending the defenseless. Now these are the 5 core values that there's a lot of stuff in the Granth Sahib. But we said, let's take these 5 values because these are relevant to youth today. This is what they're being taught. And take the Bani from that and picturize it. So stuff like the Aarti, then Pavan Guru Pani Pita, Shubh Karman Se Kabhu Na Daro. We took hymns like these. We retained their rags, but we made them into modern sounds, and we said, let's create audiovisual experiences out of this so people will understand that. The format will be live filming, animation, holography, and sort of many different this is the people, Dr. And Sujit Singh Pathar is doing the Punjabi commentary in this. So now the last bit. This auditorium will take 200 people, 5-6 shows a day. That's 1,200 people a day in Delhi. But that's not enough. As you've been listening to, even at dinner day before yesterday, there is a confusion and challenge, and this information is required all over the world. So what we've done now is that we've actually tied up with Google, who are giving us both the technology and the software support and some of the equipment to repurpose all this content into, for Google Glass, Google Cardboard, their new Dreamviewer, so that we can actually put it on the net and take it across not to thousands but to hundreds of thousands. And anyone, anywhere in the world can actually access this. Now I'm going to show you a small sample of what we've done, and then I'm going to conclude. The image is slightly going to be distorted because it's actually designed for dome, and the element of Kabir is going to be in a holograph in the center. Can we play that, please?
Namaskar, Sat Sri Akal, Adab, welcome. Welcome to a voyage of discovery. Today, we will give you insights into the life of a man who founded a young religion whose concerns are immediate, but whose message is ever fresh. The gurus of this faith preached a set of values that form the core of their beliefs: secularism, gender equality, respect for nature and the environment, caring and sharing, and the use of force only for the defense and protection of others. He did not believe that the path to God involved renunciation or retreats to forests and mountains. The true path to God meant living righteously in the world, adhering to the core values that Guru Nanak preached, and meditating on the true name. This message is best illustrated by his discussion on Mount Sumer, also known as Mount Kailash, with 84 siddhas or ancient sages. Guru Nanak and the siddhas had a spiritual debate. They inundated him with many questions and argued that it was not possible to be part of the world and follow the path of meditation and spirituality. Guru Nanak responded, like the lotus is untouched by water and a duck swimming against the current stays dry, similarly, with divine utterances in our mind and repeating his name on our lips, we cross the tempestuous ocean of the world.
जैसे जल में कमल निरालम मुर्गाई निशाने सुरत सबद पव सागर तरिया नानक नाम वखाने एकांत एको मन वसिया आसा माए निरासो अगमया गो.
What you have witnessed was just the beginning. The story continues and travels through the treacherous terrain of history to reach where it has today. Even though centuries have passed, the core beliefs of this religion not only remain intact, but considering where the world stands, have become even more relevant. These values are the bedrock of the Sikh faith. They are also the building blocks of an enduring community, essential for the sustenance of any civilization.
So, thank you, everybody. We will all need your support once this is out to spread it.
Thank you, Bobby. That was beautiful, beautiful Gurbani. And the essential core of Sikhi.